welcome back. It's Christine again with the Artist Pod, and today we're going to talk about how to sketch a face. So just like we did with the eyes a few weeks ago, I'm going to talk about how to sketch the face this week, and then next Thursday we'll be adding shadows and highlights to that face. All right, so let's get started. All right, so we've already sketched the eyes, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pop those on here. Now remember, eyes are an eye width apart. We talked about that in the eye video, and I'll put a link to that description of that video down below. So everything's measurable. I start by drawing the eye, and then I use that eye to measure everything else, right? So we measure the two eyes, and then as we go, we'll continue measuring. So I typically add the nose next, but I take the eyes and I typically measure from about the middle. So I measure from the middle of the eyes, roughly here, and then however many eye lengths down it takes to get to the nose. Now, when we're doing it, we're measuring to, the tip of the nose here. So let me take that back off. Right? So we're measuring down to this point, but this isn't the tip of the nose, because the tip of the nose is going to be roughly up here. So it's a mistake that I made a lot, where I used to measure down this distance and then I would add the sides, but I'd add it as if this were that sort of tip, and it's not. It's the very bottom of the nose. It's that spot where the nose connects back to your face. And so then that means that these sides wouldn't be lower than they are. They're going to be kicking in from roughly that spot and going up. Now when I'm measuring against a face, I measure out how far these come to here. So I always check that measurement against someone I'm drawing. And that's easy to do. You just, once again, you'll hold your pen up and you'll use the edge of your pen or pencil to sort of give you a straight edge to figure out how far over to come with the nose. But that's how you would take the eyes and then use the eyes to measure as you're going along, right? You just keep measuring, you just keep taking that measurement, and you keep adding more and more lines. When you're drawing the nose, or when you're sketching, I find it easier just to leave sort of this hint of a line here to indicate where the nostril is going to be, and then this is always going to kind of be in a little bit of a circle. But you're not going to connect it back. That's going to be done with shadowing and highlighting. So when I'm sketching, I'll leave it a little bit more open. And then, the tip of your nose is typically going to be in highlight, but I'm not going to mark any of that yet. So that's all going to come later, the further we get into drawing it. Now, I didn't actually show the eyes here, but again, I would take the eyes. At this point, I would turn them, though. I would use the eye height. So I would use more of like this image to measure this distance instead of the length, because it's now much more crunched to get the lips right. So the lips, everybody's lips are shaped a little differently. Typically, though, they're gonna come up, and there's gonna be this little dip where you have that section of the mouth that has a dip right there. But don't make it too pronounced. In fact, this is pretty pronounced, but it's not so far out of the realm of possibility. The top lip is often thinner than the bottom lip. The bottom lip's going to be much thicker. But this line here often is going to show that little dip as well. Now, I will also say I have seen that not be the case, and that not be true at all, where, it just appears flat. And so that really can vary person to person. But the bottom lip, 9 times out of 10, is going to be thicker than the top lip. The bottom lip will come in as kind of a semicircle, and the top lip has that reverse semicircle halfway through the middle of it. So if you were going to draw sort of a triangle for the top lip and then cut a circle out of it, that's kind of how you would do it. And then again, I would keep measuring. So I'd measure down to the chin, and I'd make a mark using the eyes. I'd measure to the chin. In this case, I did the whole outer edge of the face, but face shapes can be pretty different here. So I mentioned before that, it's not a full eye width to the edge of the face. So here you can see, once again, when you take that eye, you can measure it out, and you can see it doesn't come all the way to the edge. But if you wanted, so this is a relatively masculine looking face because it has a strong it has this strong jawline here. But if you wanted it to appear more feminine, you would remove the jawline. Now it's still, because of the design of it, it still appears a bit more masculine, but a strong jawline is going to indicate to us that it's a more masculine figure, but men can have a lesser jawline as well. So there are different face shapes to pay attention to. It's kind of whatever face shape you want to go with. So in this case, I'll keep the strong shape here. Now, the distance, and this is where the measuring starts coming in handy. Now that we've done all this and we've built all this out, if I were trying to still sort out the hairline, the distance from the bottom of the nose to the chin is the same as it is from halfway between the eyes up to your hairline, which is also the same distance or the same length as the palm of your hand. So if you take the palm of your hand and you put the bottom on your chin, the top is going to hit right under your nose. And if you do the same in between your eyes to your hairline, your palm's going to take up that distance. So when you're drawing hands, this is how big your palm should be. But it also now makes measuring easier. We have all the way down to the chin measured, and so now we can get the hairline done, which I'd already done, but you can do it in a much quicker way. And then as you're drawing that hairline, right, so once you've figured it out, and I typically make a small mark like I did here, then I know that the hairline is going to fill in from wherever the edge of that eye was that we've already measured here, and that's when I would fill in the rest of that. So I would mark the top first, and then that top is going to come over roughly the width of the face. And then we're going to add the ears, but you're going to have sort of the top of the ear coming with this little section on our ear, that little bulge that's right there. And then we have technically the top of the ear that comes over this way. And then you're going to have another line where that inner ear part, is that ridge on our ears is still there. And I typically loop this up because that's still going to be a harsh sort of line. And that's going to be a pretty big recess into our ears. And I also leave space for the hair to come down. If I were planning on making the hair longer, I would likely cover the ears. Sometimes I reverse this order where I draw the hair first and then I draw the ears. So I would do something like this. And then from there, I would add the ears because now I have the hair sort of grounded. Now when you're drawing hair, the top of the hairline should be halfway up the entire image, or not halfway up, I'm sorry. The eye should be in the middle, is what I mean. The eye should be halfway through the image. So when you're drawing the hairline, the eye should be halfway between the chin and the hairline, and that's how you know where to put it. So that's going to be the same distance there to sort of create that line. And then when I'm sketching, I just make it loose, because once we get into it and start drawing the hair, which will be its own separate video, it's going to be easier to draw it from that looser sketch because we're going to be drawing in the direction of the hair anyway in order to capture that sort of texture of the hair. All right. So when you're drawing the side of the face, again, you can change that angle, right? So we have a little bit of a bulge. We have a little section that comes in on our faces here, right where our eyes are. We're going to have a little slight bulge as it comes back out, and then depending on the person, the rest of this face is going to look a little different. I've drawn him so that he's got a little bit of a cleft chin, right? So his, which I do, so that's one of the reasons I did it. So his chin comes in a bit, but you don't have to. It could just, be more flat. Maybe he doesn't have a cleft chin. You can have it come down and again be softer where you're not coming in on that sort of stronger jawline that we did here. You would just sort of have it softly feather to that point. You can have all sorts of different shapes with our faces because our faces are radically different shapes. So, all right, so that's how you sketch a face. Again, like I mentioned in the eye video, everything is measurable, and that's all I've done is I've taken that one eye and I'm measuring everything else to make sure that I have it right, to make sure the proportions are right. And then once you get to the hair, it's just drawing in the direction the hair goes. But again, I'll do a separate video talking about how to draw hair. I feel like that might be easier to separate it from actually adding the highlights and shadows into the face. We'll talk about how to add the shadows next Thursday. I hope that's helpful. I will see you all next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you so much. Take care.